Hello and welcome. This is Betty with Betty Franks Art. Today I'm going to be showing you some of the sketches I've done in my sketchbook, and then I'm going to be creating in my sketchbook. So I'm going to just flip through what I've created so far. This is an Arteza sketchbook, and I'm going to include the link down below, which actually takes you to my friend's influencer account. Her name is Reena Patel Art, and you can also find her videos here on YouTube. So these are just a way for me to just kind of loosen up, try some new things, try some new color combinations, and just kind of have some fun. Creating small is something that I love to do. If you've been following me for the last year or so, you know that I've been creating large pieces on canvas. I think my last one was, well, the last video was actually 236 by 36, and prior to that, 60 by 60, 60 by 48. So this is me when I'm working small, which I also love to do. So this little sketchbook journal here, the page that I'm about to start on, I already put down a layer of gesso. I like to do that. It's really not necessary in this journal because I did create on one page where I didn't put down any gesso, and it was fine. It didn't warp or anything like that. This sketchbook is made out of watercolor paper, and it's fairly thick, so it can really handle a lot of wet surfaces going onto it. But I like to put down gesso because it creates kind of more of a sleek surface for me to work on. And the reason I like that is the paint then doesn't absorb into the paper. So I kind of like it when it floats on top of the paper. So I've got a whole bunch of different mark making tools. I'll include a link to all of my favorite art supplies down below. So I'm kind of digging through trying to find, I think I'm looking for my Neocolor 2 crayons. There's a green one, trying to find some other ones. And what I'm doing here, this is something I normally don't do when I work large, but I do enjoy doing it when I'm working small. And I'm putting down kind of a bunch of little plots of color using my Neocolor 2 crayons. Now these are water soluble crayons, which means that if I put something wet on it, they will move around, but I kind of like that. And the other reason I like putting these little marks or these little pods of color down early on is because later when I scratch into the surface, then it's going to reveal some of these colors, which I think looks so cool. So just kind of randomly adding colors here and there. Now working small like this, I am letting this video play at normal speed because it really didn't take me very long. I think this video is about a half hour, maybe a little over a half hour long. So certainly working small like this, I work a lot faster, and because I'm only covering such a small surface, it goes pretty quickly. So here's some more Neocolor 2 crayons that I found in my basket, and just adding some more color. And then I did start with some mark making. I always love to start with a pencil, and then I've got Prismacolor pencils that I like to use as well, and that's what I had done in my early stage. And I like to do that just to loosen up and relax and just get some marks down to get going. Sometimes it's a bit daunting looking at just a plain white surface and trying to figure out what to do, how to start. So I really like starting with some mark making. So in this video, I'm kind of, in the editing process, I am zooming in on what I'm working on. So I'm hoping that the quality of the video is just as good as when I'm further away. So I think I'll have to wait and see. I don't do that on my larger canvas videos, but if this one works out okay, and if you guys, let me know below if you like it when I zoom in so that you can get a closer look at what I'm doing. Like I did here, I zoomed in a bit so you can see the paint colors. Anyway, leave me a note below, let me know if you like that, and then I'll try incorporating that into my future videos. So I like using Neocolor 2, excuse me, I like using Nova Color paints, and they are a Southern California company. They only ship to the United States and Canada. So if you are a resident in one of those countries, then you can certainly get access to these, and I'll include a link below. And I just love their paints. I love the quality of them, the consistency of the paint. These small jars I especially love because they're perfect for when I'm working small or when I'm traveling. These are the 4 ounce. Also, when I'm testing out new colors, excuse me, I like to try them out with the 4 ounce jar first before I upgrade to, they're off to the left of your screen. You can see a little bit of the quart size jar. That's Indian yellow in that one. All right, and then this is black that I'm using here. So I just kind of pick my colors each time I go to create based on my mood, or I don't know, whatever I feel like using that day. Now black I tend to use directly out of the jar. Although if I want to create some more complexity to my black, I will mix it with different colors, maybe a blue or a red or a green, just to add some more depth to the black and not have it just so black, I guess. And here I've got a toothpick and I'm just scratching in, starting to create some texture that way. Now, earlier on when I was chatting, I was using a large Liquitex gesso bottle, but actually within that bottle is Nova Color gesso. I just like to save the bottle because I love the squeeze tube or the squeeze bottle where I can just squeeze out my gesso as I need it. Here I'm using a variety of different brushes, and these I got, I've got a link to brushes that you can get through Blick, but these actually I picked up at Michael's. If you're in the States, then you're aware of Michael's craft store. Sometimes when I'm in there looking for something, I'll just pick up a few brushes, and I grabbed these. These are shorter handled because they're smaller brushes, and I knew that I would be working small, so I got the shorter handle. When I'm working large, I like to get the long handled ones. So I'm hitting this with my heating tool just so that I can speed up the drying time and move on to the next step. So if you're liking this video, or if you've liked any of my other videos, please subscribe to my channel. That way you get notified when I release another one. This year, 2021, I plan to release a lot more videos, both working small and working large. And then if you like what you're seeing so far and want to see more, please give me a thumbs up. That really helps me, and it really helps other people too, because YouTube's algorithm looks at, okay, well, if videos are getting likes, then it's going to serve it up to more people so that more folks will see it. So you're helping me, and you're helping your fellow artist friends and creatives as well. I've got some, looks like some green there, and I am just starting to put down some marks. So I got the black down, and I like a lot of black because I like to cover a lot of it up, and I like little parts of it peeking through here and there. So by doing that, it allows me to have a lot more peeking through. Now you can see I'm kind of talking with my hands, and what I'm doing here is every week I have a Zoom session with 3 other fellow artists, friends that I've met through workshops over the years. And when the pandemic hit, we were actually we were in Mexico at an art retreat. It was an art retreat where you just did your own thing. There was no instructor. It was just a bunch of us artists that got together. And 2 of us on this Zoom call, me and one other one, were there for the full 2 weeks, and the other 2 were there for the first week only. And it was great to see them again, to hang out. This was pre-pandemic, so it was actually the week or so before the pandemic. And it was just, it was kind of a great oasis getaway. However, at the same time, we were very, during the second week, more so. So it was the second week of March 2020 that it was feeling a bit more stressful. We weren't sure if we're going to make it back to the States. We weren't sure if lockdown was going to happen before we got on our flight. So it was a bit stressful, but regardless, it was so nice to be down in Mexico and just creating art every day and eating and sleeping and drinking and hanging out and having fun. And I'm so looking forward to being able to do that again. This recording right now is happening in, let's see, February of 2021. And, we've got the vaccine rolling out, but certainly not fast enough. So we are doing our Zoom sessions. We've been doing them every week for the past, I don't know, probably past 9 to 10 months, I would say. We didn't do it immediately after lockdown, but pretty soon thereafter we did. And it's great. It's just a nice way to be creative, catch up. We talk business, we talk paint, we talk art, we talk family. It's a variety of things. So if you don't have that, I really encourage you to seek that out. Find some other fellow artists that you enjoy hanging out with, and take a little time to yourself to reconnect with your tribe. Right, back to my painting. So I'm just putting down marks. My marks are all influenced by my love for fields of flowers and for nature itself. So you'll see a lot of circles and lines, and those all represent my love for the flower, the stem, the trees, I love fences. So lines that are um, up and down as opposed to horizontal tend to represent my love for fences. Also, sometimes you'll see some larger ones that are horizontal, and those are my love for stepping stones. I love stepping stones in gardens. I think those are just so wonderful. So I do a lot of representational mark making that is very much abstract. So the painting itself, each one of my paintings is inspired by that love of flowers and nature. So that last one I was using, that was a rigger, which is like a script brush, very long, long bristles on it. I love using that for making marks. And you'll find a link to that in my favorite art supplies as well. So I'm just kind of, using different size brushes here. These are really small brushes. I think this might be a number 2 or a number 4 brush. I would suggest that, if you're not sure what kind of brush to use, what I did is I just bought a whole bunch of different sizes and shapes and started using them and tried to figure out, what do I like, what feels good. I find that if I use a variety, I get more variety in the art that I make. And here I just turn the brush around and use the other side to scratch right into that wet paint, revealing what was underneath, which in this case, I think was more black underneath. So you can see I love to mix my colors as I go. I usually start with either warm or cool colors, and I don't know if I really did that so much here. It seems like I started with a little bit of pink, and then I switched right over to some cool colors, which was the purples and the bluish color now. But usually I like to just start with either warm colors or cool colors and keep those separate and allow each layer to dry. And what that does is it really allows those colors to shine through and to not get muddy unless I want mud. Brown sometimes is a great neutral color, so I'll mix the two together. But most of the time I want my colors to stay pretty vivid. Now, if you've been following my art, you know I love bright colors, bright, happy colors. And lately, I don't know what it is, but I've been, leaning towards darker colors. And this is another painting where I'm kind of leaning towards some darker colors. So I do go through, moods of different palettes, I guess. Maybe it's seasonal, maybe it's emotional. It's probably both. And I just go with it. I'm not going to fight it. If that's how I'm feeling that day, then I'm going to honor that and go with it. I think fighting what you are naturally trying to do is is not a winning battle. And again, this is a sketchbook. I'm not expecting myself to create any kind of masterpiece. I am enjoying chatting with my friends while I'm creating and just letting that flow and see what happens. So working small like this, the other thing I love about it is that you create something pretty quickly in a short period of time. Like I mentioned, I think this is about a half-hour video, and sometimes I just love that feeling of starting and finishing something in a short session. I just feel very productive that way. So if you're looking to feel a bit, excuse me, feel a bit more productive, work small, work on paper. I think working on paper is super relaxing. There's nothing precious about paper. It's just a piece of paper. And when you're working in your own journal, your own sketchbook, it's just for you. It's not for anybody else. Another place you can find me besides YouTube is on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram especially. I am there every single day pretty much. I post almost every single day. I definitely post in my stories every single day. I love stories versus posting. I enjoy that a whole lot more. It's just more casual, more fun, more kind of behind the scenes type of stuff. So you can find me on Facebook. I'm posting there regularly. I'm on Pinterest as well if you like hanging out on Pinterest. The plastic that I'm using underneath my sketchbook here is 4 mil, so the number 4 MIL, 4 mil plastic, which is a thicker painter's plastic, and you can find that in your local hardware store in the paint department. Ask them for their thick 4 mil plastic. The other place you can find it is on Amazon. Just type in 4 mil plastic and you'll have several choices come up. Um, I find that this plastic is the right thickness and it allows me to not change out my palette. So you can see some of the old paint there, and I try to peel that back as much as possible, but I don't throw this plastic away. This one actually has been here for quite some time. I think probably over a year. I think I changed out last year when I was doing some live paintings workshops. So I do change it out then just so that folks can see my new paint as opposed to getting confused with my old paint. And there I'm making marks again, making larger marks, smaller marks, using some variety. And there I just scooped up some red and some purple and creating a neutral color. So speaking of the workshop that I did last year, I do have a recording of that workshop available for purchase. It's over 2 hours of creating together. I answer a ton of questions from the live session that pretty much will probably answer all of your questions. But if it doesn't, I am available to answer questions for you as you go through the recording. So I'll include a link below if you're interested in that. And I'm working on 24 by 18-inch paper up on the wall, and you can see my process from start to end. I also cover color harmony, and we talk about values as well. So here I'm doing a close-up again. Hopefully you can see it very clearly and allows you to, you don't get to see the colors that I'm mixing. That's why I kind of pull the camera back a bit so you can see my palette, but gives you a peek a bit closer to everything that I'm doing. So again, turn my brush around and just scratching right into that wet to create some more marks. I like going right over marks that I've already made because it adds more depth and dimension to the painting. So I'll go right over, you know, whatever I've done before will get sometimes several more layers until I like the way that it's working with everything else. So neutrals are great because they allow colors to really pop a lot more. And I would say that's probably more so when I'm using bright, happy colors, but for whatever reason on this day, I was in the mood for darker colors. But still, neutrals are great when, whether you're using darker colors or bright, happy colors. They help those colors stand out even more. So another thing I look for when, even when I'm creating small like this in my sketchbook, is I'm looking at values, looking at, do I have areas that are really bright and light? Do I have areas that are dark? And, that's kind of where that first layer of black comes into play, really darkens a lot of areas. And then I can choose to lighten them up or, add some other color to them. And here I'm starting to add lighter colors and lighten up some areas. Now, if you would prefer to watch this in high speed and listen to me talk as if I just inhaled some helium, you can, if you're on your, I think on your desktop computer, laptop, you can click on that gear underneath the video. There's a little circle that's like a gear, and that allows you to speed up the video. Although I'm going to sound pretty funny once you do that. So anyway, I lost my train of thought where I was going with that. But anyway, that's an option if you want to watch this a bit faster, but you won't be able to really hear me that well. So I like these zoomed in versions here that allows you to see a lot more. Going back through, making some more marks. Again, my mark making, it just, in addition to filling in some areas, I continue to make marks throughout for each layer. I like that lighter area now, offsets some of those dark areas. All right, so I'm going to dry this. Sometimes I like drying in between just so I can move through a bit faster. When I'm working on larger canvas pieces, then I tend to set those aside or get the dryer out on them too, but sometimes I can set those aside and move on to the next piece. So I know I've talked about this in some of my other videos, and that is if you are just getting started and you're trying to figure out your style, which I know is a really big deal, and I know it was for me when I was trying to figure out, what is my style? What is it that I'm trying to express in my paintings? And it took me, I was just responding to somebody who asked me that question, and it took me 3 years, just over 3 years to figure that out. And during that 3-year process, again, not working at it like a full-time job, but kind of more part-time. And what I discovered is during those 3 years, while I was trying everything and anything that interested me, and in the beginning, I was doing mixed media. I was doing stamping and stenciling and layering, I think layering has never left me because I really love that, but layering paint and stencils and stamps all on top of each other. And if you go through my YouTube videos to the very, very early ones, you will find some of those videos where I was doing mixed media work. But what I'm trying to say there is that, it's a learning process, and you've got to try everything to figure out what you love and what you don't love. And sometimes I think it's so important what you don't love, because until you try it, you don't really know if that's something that you gravitate towards or that makes your heart happy. And so that means trying out a bunch of different styles and techniques and products to figure all that out. So don't be afraid to do that part. Uh, you know, During all that time when I was starting to learn, that artists need to figure out what their style is and what their art represents, sometimes I'd get depressed about that and frustrated. But I do also remember, as those thoughts entered my mind, that at the same time I would just let them leave and I would just continue on with whatever I was doing, whatever I was working on, and whatever products I was testing out or trying, or techniques I wanted to figure out. But it was always kind of in the back of my mind, I guess, during that period of time. So that's all very normal and very frustrating too. I totally get that. It is frustrating. But with lots of practice, and there's no shortcuts about it, is what I've learned over the years too. No shortcuts to figuring out what your style is, and what you do naturally, or what comes from your heart, or what comes from learning techniques that you love so much and that you've turned them into your very own work. And I took workshops over the years. I didn't start getting creative until just before my 50th birthday. So over the years, I just simply, took workshops with artists that I admired and I loved, and I learned from them. And eventually, I took those little bits and pieces, and it turned into something more me, more of what I wanted to create, what was naturally coming from me. So don't be afraid to do that. Sometimes we emulate those artists that we love the most, and we're trying out, the way they do things, and that's perfectly okay. And giving credit to that person is great also whenever you can, but you know, don't be afraid to not do that, because I think it's going to lead to you creating your own style, and you've got to just keep practicing. And I had read and heard that, it takes 10,000 hours to really get good at your craft. And 10,000 hours equates to, I think it was like working full time for 5 years or something like that. So please don't beat yourself up. Do what you can. Keep plugging forward. Keep moving forward. Um, keep being creative. All right, so I'm hitting it with the dryer because I want to do my final mark making. And when I'm working on larger canvases, even larger paper, I will let that dry overnight. But when I work in my journal, no patience. So let's just hit it with the dryer. And it doesn't work as well because that paint, even though I put on thin layers of paint, it's still not completely dry. So when I go to use like the Prismacolor pencil in pink that I've got there, it's actually kind of scratching through the paint and revealing what's underneath. So I'm not getting my perfect marks. So as you can see, the pages lay pretty flat, although I'm adjusting this one because the edges curled up a little bit. So starting with the pencil, see that right away? It peeled back some of the paint. So I want to make some circles, but I got to be kind of careful because it's still a bit wet. All right, so I switched to making some marks down there instead. So this is a fun composition. As I look at it while I'm talking with you guys, I like the way it turned out. And it's just, again, creating kind of a memory for your hand to remember to do certain things, certain ways that you like to make marks. I'm wiping it down because sometimes there's little bits of paint that stick out a little bit too much, so I like to knock those back a bit. And there we go. See, my edges are starting to curl a bit. Once this is thoroughly dry, so I'll leave this open like this on my table for a day or two, and then once it's thoroughly dry, I can close it. And there's a little strap on the sketchbook itself that helps keep the book closed. And then it keeps the pages nice and flat. All right, attempting to make marks again without, see, I'm peeling back paint again. Trying to do it without peeling back some paint. All right, so in my hand, I think I've got a Neo color. Oh no, I went switch back to, that's my favorite teal-ish color in the Prismacolor pencils. Always got to put some of those marks in. Got to add that color too. I think I do it just about everything. I'll come in and at least put a little bit of it in. So this final stage, I really, enjoy doing this because it allows me to enhance some areas and add some additional marks to make the piece interesting. Here I added some on my finger. What I was trying to do is push back that circle so that it doesn't stand out so much. And I do that by just painting right over a little part of it, creating, giving it dimension that way. That way it's not floating on top. All right, hold that back with the video. I just filled in that little corner there. Okay, so I'm calling it done. I don't sign my little ones because they're just for me. But here's some video close-up. You can see where I've scratched into the wet paint. You can see a little bit of the very first layer. More if you're up close to it, you can really see those. But fun little piece, fun to do, especially when you're just trying to have a nice little relaxing afternoon with your friends via Zoom. And I'm going to show you here. Here it is. So again, thank you so much for watching, for being here. Please, hit the like button, subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in some of my future videos. Wishing you a super creative day. Thanks again.